Welcome to our 2018 presentation and rollout for the Consolidated Innovative Nuclear Research Program, our funding opportunity announcement. That's the FOA. Thank you for being with us. We're coming to you live from Germantown, Maryland, to explain the program for the upcoming year. There are some changes, and of course, we're going to be presenting all of the work scopes that we have in hand. Again, thank you for being with us. I'm John Gilligan. I'm the director of the NEUP Integration Office. I'm proud to say that this is our 10th rollout of the original NEUP program, along with a number of other sponsored programs that have been included now by DOE-NE to create the entire innovative nuclear research program here out of Washington. So today we're going to hear from a number of presenters regarding industry program, the GAIN program, NSUF, and this goes on for the next few days, not just today, but Wednesday and Thursday. The NEAT program, NEAMS, reactor support and fuel cycle program. All these will be contributing ideas and description of work scopes and concepts associated with the program this year. We have to really thank DOE-NE for the support of this program over the years, in particular this year based on the number of work scopes that we're talking about, which is over 40, potentially $60 million, potentially depending upon resolution of the budget, of course. So I'd like to thank, of course, Acting Assistant Secretary Ed McGinnis, Deputy Assistant Secretary Shane Johnson, Mike Worley here in the room with us today, Tom Miller, Kenny Osborne also here with us today, Juan Yoon, and Derek Ogg, all from DOE. Also in the room today we have, as part of our presentation team, Julie Jacobson and Drew Thomas from INL. So all of the programs that we're going to be presenting have many restrictions associated with who can apply for the various programs. And of course, the FOA will explain all those details as it's released in the future. But as I said, potentially the work scopes that we're talking about here are on the order of $60 million for the 2018 year. So I would say we should be very fortunate. We're going to try to answer all your questions during the presentations that we have. We have the experts here from DOE. You listening in the audience can range up to 200 people at any given time that we've seen in the past, but you're from universities, industry, national labs, and government. So we have a wide range of folks that are interested in the program, applying to different parts of the program, or collaborating with the program, potentially also international partners as part of our program sponsored by DOE-NE. So to kick things off today into talking about the FOA itself, we have Joanne Hanners here and Aaron Gravel from DOE-ID. They are the contracting officers for the procurement side of the house in terms of dealing with the terms and conditions and the actual contracts that are let eventually in the year. So I'm going to turn it over now to Joanne. Thank you for being with us, Joanne, to start off the program.
I'm Joanne Hanners, and I'm with DOE Procurement, and I will be the contact for any of your questions procurement related. My contact information is in the FOA, and also Aaron Gravel would be available if you can't reach me. So today I'm going to go over just a few of the 2017 outcomes, just as a background for your information. In 2017, DOE awarded nearly $67 million in projects, and that crossed over 28 different states for a total of 86 projects. Now, these were funding for the nuclear-related technologies, which also touched into being consistent with the goals and objectives of the Gateway for Accelerated Innovation in the Nuclear Initiative, which is also known as GAIN. For FY17, the NEAP outcomes, we had 529 applications that were received. We had 182 applications that were invited, and then we had 228 full applications that were received. Of those applications, we had 42 that were recommended. For IRPs, we have 15 applications received, and 3 applications were recommended. For the FY17 NEAT outcomes, we had 93 pre-applications that were received, 15 invited applications, and 18 full applications received. And of those, there were 6 recommended applications. And for the FY17 NSUF outcomes, we had 105 that were received for pre-application, 46 invited applications, 44 full applications, and then 14 recommended applications. Here are the FY18 dates for you to review. They are tentative, and they will more than likely, or they could change. So we just recommend that you look on the website for any updates that we may have. Now we'll have Greg. He will cover the remaining of the outline.
Joanne, thank you. Well, good afternoon and welcome. I'm Greg Belay. I manage the CINR Integration Office at the direction of DOE at the Idaho National Laboratory. I'm going to talk to you today about an overview of the FOA, give you a few policy updates and reminders. There are some things that have changed, and then walk you through the review process, the tools and submissions. This is going to be a fairly familiar process for some. There are some new things, so please do take note of those. This presentation will be available on the web, so you can download this so you have it as a resource. If you have questions during this webinar, simply type your question into the dialog box. We'll capture that here in the room, compile those, and then we'll have a live interaction at the end of this presentation, such that we'll try and answer most of those questions. If you have questions about individual eligibility or work scopes, we can also handle those offline. This year, the funding mechanism is the same as we've used in years past. If you're a university and are selected, you will be issued a cooperative agreement by DOE. National Laboratories will receive a work authorization. Industry will also have a cooperative agreement, and if you receive access to a user facility through NSUF, that will be through NSF user agreements, and of course, as the PI, you yourself do not receive those funds. They go to the institution where the work is done. We are offering collaborative opportunities with NSUF again this year. That does require you to sign a user agreement. You'll have multiple opportunities where that is an expectation. Our eligibility requirements have not changed. Those do enable a diverse portfolio for DOE. It ensures that your work is completed on a timeline that supports programmatic needs, and it is based on performance and project load, and they do use no-cost extensions as one of the metrics for that. The official FOA, as always, can be found on grants.gov, and you will apply through our website at neup.gov, and we will host a copy of that FOA just as a professional courtesy. The organization of the FOA is consistent with past years. Appendix A brings universities the opportunity to lead for program supporting and mission supporting work. National laboratories, industry, and universities are in Appendix B for program supporting work. This is also where you find the majority of the NSUF opportunities co-joined with research. There's also a work scope in Appendix A. I want to make note that this year, industry may only lead on applications pertaining to NSUF 2 work scopes. And then for Appendix C, we do anticipate that there will be a single program-directed IRP. These are all subject to development and change, of course, but we do have draft work scopes pending out there for the community to take under advisement now. This is how the department has defined program supporting, mission supporting, and program directed work. Of course, that program supporting work directly supports NE's programs. That is defined by and focused on a statement of objective that is defined by the programs themselves. The mission supporting work is that work that you as an investigator may look to more in terms of blue sky. However, that is definitively tied to and supports the NE mission. And then program directed are those work scopes that are tied very closely to the outcomes of the programs. They have direct program involvement, and they are indeed directed by the programs for fruition. Here's an overview of the appendices. In Appendix A, which is led by universities, program supporting pieces up to $800,000, mission supporting to $400,000, period of performance is up to 3 years. The only thing that should go longer than that would be if you have an NSUF co-join application, at which point in time, if you are proposing a radiation and PIE, you may be eligible for a 7-year project. Only universities are eligible to lead in this work scope area, but we encourage everyone to collaborate. We anticipate, based on available funding, that there will be approximately $40 million, and that would transit into about 50 awards. For Appendix B, and again, I want to stress that industry is available to lead in this program supporting applications through NEAT up to $1 million. NSUF work scopes for co-joined R&D would be $500,000 with requests up to $4 million for irradiation and PIE, $1.5 million for just irradiation access, or $750,000 if you need a beamline or just a PIE access request. You'll be given much more information on the NSUF program in further overviews over the next few days. Period performance, again, this is the same, up to 3 years, 7 if you're co-joined with NSUF. Again, universities, national laboratories are eligible to lead. Industry may lead on those work scopes. There's approximately $15 million, and that will transcribe to 22 awards. We're anticipating a single IRP this year. Level of funding is anticipated at $3.5 million. That would be a 3-year program. Again, these are the larger collaborative projects. Only universities are eligible to lead. We encourage all collaborators to participate. Here is a slide that just details the summary of the information that I've given you on who can lead, the type of work that you may do, and what type of sponsorship is available, whether it is NSUF or co-joined NSUF with research dollars. Our technical narrative and application page limits have not changed. Two-page letter of intent for those applications that request access to NSUF facilities. A 3-page pre-application for the R&D portion. Full applications for R&D support not requesting access to NSUF are limited to 10 pages. You may have up to 15 pages if you're requesting NSUF support with co-joined R&D. For Appendix C, which would be the IRPs, you have a 50-page opportunity. That is your application limit. Our collaboration guidance, of course, we encourage everyone to collaborate to enhance and diversify DOE's portfolio. There is some additional points of consideration given for minority serving institutions, underrepresented groups, industry, and foreign institutions. For those work scopes that are led by universities, except for those under Appendix B, as a collaborator, your portion cannot exceed 20%. And that's a composite for all collaborators that are on the work. So in sum total, all collaborators cannot exceed 20% on any given application in Appendix A. In Appendix B, which are NEAT-sponsored work scopes, there is no 20% limit. And again, funding is for U.S. institutions only. International collaborations are strongly encouraged to collaborate. Here's some policy updates and reminders for you. If you're an applicant for NSUF support, you're going to need to affirm your ability to accept the user agreement at your letter of intent, your pre-application, and your full application. New this year, a summary of readiness will be required. That will be detailed in the FOA, and detail will be given in further presentations. Your statement of work, you will now upload those twice onto nup.gov. A preliminary statement on or about the 17th of November, and a final statement of work on or about the 22nd of January. NSUF applications consistent with last year must include a list of all presentations and publications that have happened from that support, and you'll put that in the benefits of collaborations. We take that the PIs and collaborators are considered final when the pre-application is submitted. If you want to make changes to that, we can accommodate that. Do know that all we're looking at is to make sure that we don't enable any type of a conflict of interest. So we do ask that you notify our office. We will work through those conflicts, make sure that the people you're adding don't pose that issue, and make sure that our review assignments don't get us in a situation that becomes untenable. You alone are responsible for the selection of the appropriate work scope. You may be asked to change work scope if some of the program management has a desire to do so, but you are the one who's responsible for that, and your full application must be competed in the work scope to which you are instructed in the invitation letter should you receive one. You may compete your applications in a single work scope only. For review purposes, our conflict of interest attributes to the institution, not the individual. However, if required, we may go to the individual level. You are responsible for not exceeding submission limits. And if you do so, your application may be recused from further consideration by the department. Materials that are required are to be submitted on the published deadlines. Anything after that deadline will not be considered. If you have an uninvited application, you may submit as a full application if you meet the requirements stipulated in the FOA, and I'll talk about those in just a few minutes as well. So if you have an uninvited application, pre-application, you can still submit that as a full application. And each and every year, as the information that Joanne gave you, we do have uninvited pre-applications that are selected after they complete a full application. U.S. funding may not be provided to international institutions, and if you're in Appendix A as a collaborator to a university in composite, you may occupy no more than 20% of that total budget. You are eligible for pre-award costs. However, recipients charging those costs are responsible for those if the award does not go through for some reason. If you anticipate that you have a need greater than 90 days for pre-award costs, the DOE contracting officer, in this case it would be Joanne for this term, could give you permission to do so. One final word of advice, please do not lock your budget spreadsheets. DOE does need access to that to check data, etc. We have had issues with that in the past, so I'm going to implore you to please not lock your cells. This is something that, while it is not new, it is a policy that has been evolving and has come to a point for us. If you anticipate a PI or a project transfer, we do have a codified process. The process itself is available and linked at nup.gov. Any application submitted to this FOA and awarded may not be transferred pre-award to another institution or lead PI. If you're a PI that is moving from one institution to another during or after the review process, you're subject to the policy that we lay out at nup.gov. Awards that are made under this FOA are made to institutions and not individuals. So to do something different, to move an application becomes difficult because that makes it subject to a non-competitive process, where this is a competitive FOA. Therefore, awards that are made to those institutions as an outcome of this FOA will remain at that institution for the entirety of the project. And again, any changes to partners or collaborators, we do have to approve those, and that's primarily to manage our conflict of interest. Any egress on conflict of interest actually puts the entire process at threat if anyone was to challenge the outcomes. Your submittal guidelines, these are eligibility requirements. These are virtually unchanged from years past. You are eligible to submit to this FOA as a principal if you are currently a lead PI on an active IRP. If you're a university PI with 3 or more R&D projects that will be active after December 31st, 2018. If you are a PI that has a no-cost extension on any NE-funded project active after December 31st, 2018, you are also ineligible. Your pre-application limits, if you're a university PI, you can be on no more than 6 pre-applications, no more than 3 of those as the PI. For the full application submittal limit, you cannot be on more applications than you are eligible, given the criteria that we have. So you may have no more than 1 IRP or 3 active R&D projects at any time. We're happy to answer specific individual questions and walk you through what your eligibility horizon is. For any application involving the NSUF, these eligibility restrictions may not apply, and we take that on a case-by-case basis. That's simply because there is no reason for you not to be able to conduct R&D while you have something being irradiated. If you are applying for funding as a need cross-cut investigator, you're limited as an institution to 3 pre-applications per institution per work scope area. For our university contingent, these submissions do count towards your pre-application limit. Excuse me. For those IRP applications, you're ineligible to submit if you're designated as the PI on more than one currently funded NE project that will still be active after December 31st, 2018. And of course, you may not submit an R&D application and an IRP application in the same year. And again, NSUF projects are a case-by-case basis. Uninvited pre-applications. If you receive a communication, hopefully in December, that advises you that you have an uninvited pre-application, you may still compete that as a full application if on a second relevancy review, which all full applications get, you have an average of high relevance and moderate program priority. That is the gateway under which you would receive a full technical review. And again, every year we have applicants who change their application in response to the criticisms that they're given, and they do actually attract funding. The weighting of scores is the same that it has been in the past. If you are a mission supporting applicant, 80% of your scores on the technical basis of your application, 20% relevancy. Program supporting, 65% technical, 35% for the relevancy. Program directed is an even balance between your technical review and your relevancy review. And if you're requesting access to NSUF facilities, 65% technical, 35% relevancy. There are details in the FOA for all of the variety of program types and those relevancy weights, as well as what the actual criteria are. We do have additional relevancy consideration for diverse partnerships, as we indicated earlier, and program priority, as a reminder, is a separate criteria that is scored by relevancy reviewers. It is in addition to the relevancy. We continue with our semi-blind review process. That has consequences in that for your full application, there are things that you are precluded from including in your narrative. That includes cost and pricing information, identification of individual or institution or any teaming partner. You may not name the title of facilities that are used to execute scope. However, if you are requesting NSUF applicant, then you can name the NSUF facilities that you're planning on using. Cost sharing, while it is certainly encouraged, it is not an evaluated criteria. Our review process, tools, and submissions, you'll find these very familiar with respect to the algorithms we use to conduct our reviews between the pre-applications and the full applications. Those have not changed. You'll be given at least a single technical review at pre-application with 2 relevancy reviews, and at your full application, it's a minimum of 2 relevancy and 3 peer. This is a table that you'll also find in the FOA. Just summarizes the variety of programs and the different types of elements that are present and gives you an insight into cost sharing, collaboration, maximum award sizes, anticipated number of awards, etc. This is a listing of all of the required documents and forms. This also is in the FOA for your reference. We try and make this very clear what is required, what the form type is, and who is required to submit that. We also offer you several tools for understanding the FOA. We've got the eligibility workflow, and of course we're happy to take those questions individually to discuss your current circumstances. We list out full federal and technical points of contact on the NUP website for both the R&D program and the IRP. If you need additional contact information or having issues with that, you can phone us in the integration office. Here are the points of contact for you. The TPOCs that I just gave to you, they are listed at nup.gov. Procurement questions can be directed to Joanne Hanners this year. Erin Gravel will also be available to answer those. If you have any questions at all on forms, website navigation, submissions, you can call the 2 phone numbers are listed. The first one, 526-1602. That's for Drew Thomas. He manages this as a process for the integration office. And 526-8178 will ring my desk. Also, you can ask questions to nup@inl.gov. Again, the dates that we anticipate for release of the FOA through full applications, release of information are given here. We encourage you to consult our website, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn. At this point in time, I'd like to invite John, Aaron, and Joanne to the podium. Be happy to answer questions from the community as needed.
The first question is, does the PI have to be a U.S. citizen or permanent resident?
The PI does not have to be a U.S. citizen, but does have to be faculty at a U.S. institution. So, Aaron, you want to give additional insight on that?
No, I think that's
okay. Thank you.
I would just say that each institution determines who's eligible to submit as a PI, fairly consistent among all institutions. So you check with your own office, your contracts and grants office on campus to make sure you're eligible to submit.
What is the status of the IRP on versatile fast test reactors that was in the original scope of work?
That has seen a slight change of title. Currently, we're planning on rolling that out as an IRP. Of course, until things are finalized, we don't have an exact answer for you, but that currently is the plan. That is the IRP that is offered. It has had a slight title change.
And John, and that will be presented on, John Hertzig will be here to present that and answer questions regarding the IRP.
So you'll have opportunity to get specific detail on that work scope.
How many blue sky proposals were funded last year?
We could go back and look at that exact number if you'd like to. I have a hard time remembering specific dates, so don't expect me to remember specific numbers. We're going to have to go back and this.
EMS that doesn't have it.
Yeah, we don't break it down here. Let me check with procurement in Joanne's office. If we can give those out, certainly be happy to do so if it's allowed.
Yeah, all the awards from last year are on the web or on our website, so you can go back and take a look and just go down the list and for the MS, the blue sky.
If a PI has one current NUP project that won't expire by December 2018, how many pre-apps is that PI allowed to submit?
For pre-apps, you can submit up to 6 with 3 as a principal investigator. When you get to full apps, you can only submit that number that you're eligible to be on. You would be eligible for 2 full application submissions.
As a PI.
As a PI.
What's the available funding for FY 2018, and has it increased or decreased from FY 2017?
John, you want to take that one?
Well, the funding, of course, is not determined. That's being negotiated in Congress and with the president right now, of course, and we won't know that for some time. But if you go back at last year's FOA and take a look at the chart, the figure that gave the funding in each of the particular areas, it will be not too different, perhaps, from what we're talking about this year. We really won't know until we get the FOA in your hands in the near future, in the future sometime, that we'll discuss what those numbers are. And last year we awarded, it was mentioned, $67 million. I mentioned $60 million. It's just a ballpark number, but again, that's just guesstimating. It'll be in that range. So you should be very encouraged to look at a robust program for this year.
I put the current estimate is now on the screen in front of you, and that table is in the FOA, and of course that is subject to available funds.
If a co-PI of an R&D project moves from a national laboratory to a university pre-award, Can the award follow the co-PI to the new place of employment?
Say the first part of that again.
If a co-PI of an R&D project moves from a national laboratory to a university pre-award, can the award follow the this sounds like it's that's a good clarification.
Is the national lab a subrecipient?
That's correct. That's what so this would be a pre-award co-PI, meaning a subaward recipient to a national laboratory.
Yeah, so it's going to make a difference on, if we're talking about subaward and moving the subaward to a university, that's going to be worked through the prime, and where it's a co-PI, that's going to be a little bit different than what Greg was talking, and moving it as with the limitations that come with a prime award. So we could talk to the specifics, or if there's somebody that wants to reach out to me and talk about an individual situation, please do so.
May DOE laboratory staff that have an adjunct appointment at a university lead a university-led project?
If that is a formal relationship with the university that generates a paycheck through the university, and they're an eligible investigator of that university, then I believe the answer is yes. John?
Yes, we've seen that in the past occasionally. So, but again, the eligibility is determined by the university, and are you able to lead as a PI at that university? Usually you have to have a paycheck from that university in order to have that responsibility and privilege.
Is that answer any different if it's a joint appointment rather than an adjunct professorship?
No, it would be the same. Joint appointment's a little even more formal, so in that case, probably so. But again, it depends on the details.
Is fundamental research supported under mission supporting work, or is it only applied research that is aligned to the programs?
That would be through the mission supporting, but it would still have to fit within NE's mission. And those review criteria are given in the FOA.
Our projects that are sponsored by DOE NE tend to be more applied, associated, making sure that it is consistent with the mission of DOE NE. So please look at other examples of projects that have been funded in the past to see what that might look like.
Could you describe some situations where NEUP applications have been dismissed?
We've had NUP applications dismissed when they have been over the eligibility requirement limit. We've actually had applications dismissed that have been deemed non-compliant with the requirements of submission. So if you haven't submitted all of the forms that are required, you have been recused from further competition. And we have had applications that have been discontinued for review when they have requested a no-cost time extension that would put them beyond the eligibility limit that was listed in the FOA. And I'm sure there are other reasons.
There are other reasons. I can think of another when people ask for too much money in that particular category, or the budget is too big, or little things like that.
What criteria will reviewers use to evaluate preliminary program or proposals?
Those are listed in the FOA and on the website, but that has to do with relevancy review, program priority, and then the technical end of looking at that to make sure that it is something that is technically achievable.
Let me just add, this NEUP program, the whole program, CINR, is unique in the sense that it's peer reviewed technically, as well as has a combination of relevancy reviews, which makes it very much a hybrid kind of approach to things, truly integrating what's happening at the national labs based on DOE NE mission, as well as the expertise at the university. So it's a combination of technical peer review along with the relevancy review that make this unique.
Can I resubmit my application, which was not selected for an award last year, or is resubmission not allowed?
You certainly can resubmit. I would caution you on making sure that the work scope that you submitted that to has not changed drastically and any change that is in the work scope that you address.
Greg, could you please go back to slide number 4?
Certainly.
And Greg's another individual would like you to put the contact information slide back up.
Be happy to do that.
Of course, you'll have contacts, federal as well as technical contacts for each of the work scopes. So questions about the individual work scopes will go to them, but in general, the FOA, these are the folks to answer general questions.
Yeah, the slide just before that does detail those and give you the full link on where those are found. Those are at nup.gov under the R&D or IRP tab as appropriate.
The question is, in the webinar schedule, there seem to be some missing work scopes. This individual is talking about the light water reactor sustainability scopes. Those will be presented on Wednesday from 1 until 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Some of these work scopes are grouped into programs, so you'll notice that that is titled RC 5 through 7 Light Water Reactor Sustainability. What is the status of IRP EM topics from last year, FY 2017?
My understanding is those have not been selected or arranged by EM. Do understand that those are coming with EM funding. They are responsible for making those final decisions and executing those as awards. So to my knowledge, currently, that's the status. Aaron, anything to add?
I do have a POC that you can reach out to, so just send me an email and I can get you pointed to the right people that will be able to answer that for you.
Can postdocs from universities serve as PIs?
Yes, if they're allowed by your individual university. We approve those all the time at my university. So, but again, it's a local decision as to whether a postdoc in a senior status, for instance, can serve as a PI, especially when it's his or her material that's being presented. So that's essential. So it can happen, and that doesn't exclude you from consideration in our program.
Do know that as your appointment may come to a close, moving that project to another institution will be at the discretion of the policy that's outlined this year.
And the recommendation of the university too.
Yes.
Are the draft work scope topics final, or is there expectation that they will be changed?
I don't know that there's an expectation that they will be changed, but there is the opportunity and discretion of any leadership to change those at any time.
Based on past experience, we do see changes, everything from typographical changes to little broader changes in the work scopes or clarifications, if you will. So that could happen, but again, we put those out as on our website, so just pay attention to those in case that does happen.
When a university is possessing key skills but lacking key laboratory space, can a provision be made to assign the cost of a laboratory from the university's funding portion? Meaning, can they buy laboratory infrastructure with the R&D funds?
Aaron?
Joanne, do you know the answer to that?
Yeah, I will have to get back with you on that one. I've not had that.
We've had that happen in the past, and that was subject to the 20% limitation.
Yeah, it depends. To me, it sounds like, are you talking about renting or leasing space? That's one thing.
Yeah.
And typically in infrastructure or even you can buy equipment for on the R&D awards, but you can't build space. You can't modify permanent space or anything like that, infrastructure or R&D. So it would, I think you need to contact Aaron or Joanne about that to look at the specifics.
Yeah, hence that's why we get a lot of subawards at times too. So it's certainly partnering with those that you can that you can complete the work that you're looking to complete.
I just got a clarification from the PI. They are asking if a portion of the budget can be used to pay for a lease of a lab.
We, that's a good question, actually, because space is very dear at every university. But typically, the F&A costs cover your space that is awarded by the federal government. And so if you're trying to lease additional space, it would have to be very, very specific and very detailed and very unique facility in order to be tied to a particular R&D project. Otherwise, I don't think it could happen.
Are there any U.S., UK, or U.S., Japan collaborative work that will be going on or announced shortly in this FOA?
Not that's currently anticipated today. That may be updated as time goes forward, and that would come about as a formal amendment to the FOA.
There are continuing discussions with UK, for instance, but nothing is formalized right now. And I think last year we did have some agreements and some awards were made based on those collaborations, which is good. But nothing formal right now, although Mike Worley at DOE is continuing discussions with UK and others.
And no formal awards have been completed yet. So there have been some selections, but nothing's been completely negotiated or in place at this time. So we anticipate there will be a few that will make it through that process here shortly.
Does funding allow or grant access to facilities needed and located at foreign collaborating partners? For example, irradiation facilities for a materials program.
Yeah, I'd say no. Our collective no.
The consensus on the podium is no.
But we can't use U.S. dollars to pay for facilities in other countries, of course, and it would be up to them to, if they're going to provide facilities for radiation or PIE or whatever it is, that would be great if they could do that gratis of, U.S. dollars. So again, that would be an example of a strong collaboration if it could be made by the other country or other laboratory.
If a postdoc will join another university as an assistant professor before the full proposal is due, can the postdoc submit the proposal from its soon-to-be employer?
Yes, you could submit that proposal from your soon-to-be employer, or you could have a strong collaboration in place with the other university to ease the tension associated with any type of an award post-transfer. Anything to add?
No.
Are there any information technology technical areas which are encouraged to improve nuclear power and efficiency?
Well, the cybersecurity, of course, is, I've seen that in a couple of the work scopes, and sensors, and operation of control rooms and various aspects like that. I think I've seen that this year as part of some of the work scopes. So in that sense, yes, IT is part of some of the work scopes.
If only a part of an NUP R&D proposal may require access to a specific NSUF facility, will the PI still need to submit an NSUF LOI?
Yes, if you anticipate using an NSUF facility and co-joining with that, which would require funding to do so, you will have two options. You either co-join it and submit the LOI, or you don't co-join it and then go through a separate application if you're doing a rapid turnaround. With something to be appropriate for just a rapid turnaround experiment, that's an example where that would not happen. But other than that, it would be co-joined with an LOI.
And a key distinction here is that if you are proposing any NSUF access in this FOA, it must be through the NSUF1 or NSUF2 scopes. It is not allowed to propose an NUP scope and put an NSUF2 or any other type of NSUF access through this FOA. So please be aware the NSUF scopes are very specific in what they're asking for.